western Iran, 54 kilometers east of Kermanshah, 3:30 in the morning. 96 U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment were lying under blackout netting above Iran's Khorram missile base. Inside the berm, 312 Iranian forces were defending 12 Shahab launchers, 24 reload trucks, and the bunker that controlled them. The Rangers had 30 minutes to wipe out the launchers before the first missiles could be fired. The base mattered because its missiles could hit airfields, ports, and ships across the Gulf. Iranian forces had built the site behind 2 fences, 18 concrete revetments, 6 watchtowers, 2 Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft guns, 4 DSHK pits, and a buried command bunker with steel blast doors. A generator yard kept the launch systems live even if the main power failed. A radar mast watched the valley road. Iran believed the mountain roads. Its buried cables and overlapping guns made the base safe from a ground raid. The U.S. Army plan was simple and tight. Alpha Element, 24 U.S. Army Rangers, would breach the west fence, kill the towers, and clear launchers 1 through 3. Bravo Element, 24 Rangers, would cut through the north motor pool and destroy launchers 4 through 6 with C4 and thermite. Charlie Element, 24 Rangers, would enter from the south drainage cut, blow the bunker doors with a shaped charge, and seize the command room. Delta Element, 24 Rangers, would block the east road, destroy the air defense guns, and stop any Iranian forces from escaping or counterattacking. At 3:34, the assault began. 2 Mk-11 Mod 0 rifles cracked at the same second. The west tower gunner fell. The north tower gunner dropped beside him. A linear charge tore open the west fence. Bravo used date cord on the north service gate. Delta fired a Carl Gustav M3 into the first Zu-23-2 pit. The gun flipped backward in smoke and dust. Iranian forces reacted in pieces, not as one force. Sirens started. Floodlights came on. Then Alpha cut the lights with thermite on the transformer box. The base went dark again. U.S. Army Rangers rushed the first revetment with M4A1 SOP-Mod 2 carbines and Mk-18 CQBR rifles. By 3:36, 3 outer guard posts were down, and the first launcher crew was dead beside its fueling truck. At 3:38, the fight spread across the whole base. Bravo hit the motor pool fast. A PKM machine gun opened from a sandbag roof. A Ranger with an M249 SAW pinned it. Another Ranger fired an AT-4 through the wall below the gun. The roof collapsed. Bravo crossed the yard and planted C4 on launchers 4 and 5. In Alpha met its hardest resistance near launcher 2. Iranian forces fired AK-74 rifles from a trench line only 40 meters away. 2 Rangers went down wounded. An Alpha gunner brought up a Mk-48 Mod 0 and swept the trench in hard, short bursts. Charlie reached the bunker ramp and found the first steel door sealed. A breacher set a shaped charge on the locking bar. The door blew inward. Charlie entered through dust, sparks, and broken steel. At 3:40, Iranian forces started to understand the scale of the raid. Base officers tried to move Launcher 7 out of its revetment. The truck engine turned over. It never rolled. Delta had already crossed the east side. A Carl Gustav round hit the cab. Fuel ran across the concrete. Delta put thermite into the guidance panel and moved on. The second Zu-23-2 fired low across the yard, with the tracers cut over the bunker roof. Delta answered with an M24OB machine gun from a drainage berm. The gun crew broke. 2 tried to run. Neither made it past the east fence. Across the site, U.S. Army Rangers were forcing Iranian forces to fight in 4 separated pockets. That split the defense. No one at the base could see the whole problem. Every call for help came from a different direction. Every answer arrived too late. At 3:42, Charlie hit the bunker center. The tunnel bent left, then right. Iranian forces fired from a cross hall with AK-74 rifles and 1 RPG-7. The rockets struck the wall and blew concrete into the passage. Charlie dropped flat. A Ranger rolled a flash grenade past the corner. It burst. Charlie moved through. Two Rangers fired Mk-18 CQBR rifles into the hall. A third Ranger cut down a door team with an M4A1 SOPMOD-2. Now, at the command room, the blast door was shut and locked from inside. A breacher ran det cord around the frame and fired it. The frame split. Charlie stormed in. Inside were 14 Iranian forces, 6 radio sets, 4 launch keys, and the firing computer for all 12 missiles. The last defender tried to burn the code books. A Ranger shot him before the papers caught. At 3:44, the fight turned against the launch crews. Bravo had already wired launchers 4, 5, and 6. Alpha finished launcher 3, but Iranian forces still held the central revetments. A DSK heavy machine gun opened from Bunker 8 and cut across the service road. One Ranger was killed there. The road stopped moving for 18 seconds. Then, Alpha shifted left. A Ranger crawled to a concrete lip with a Javelin missile. He fired from 90 meters. The missile struck the DSHK nest and blew the whole front wall outward. Bravo used the gap. Rangers ran across the road, slapped thermite on launcher wheels and control boxes, and fired 3-round bursts into the crews trying to pull covers from the missiles. By 3:46, 7 of the 12 launchers were burning or wired to blow. At 3:48, Iranian forces launched their sharpest counterattack. 48 defenders came out of the barracks block in 2 files. They had 3 PKM machine guns, 6 RPG-7 launchers, and 1 truck with sandbags on the bed. They pushed toward the bunker ramp, trying to reopen the command link. Charlie was still inside. Delta saw the move first. An M240B cut the lead file. The second file kept coming. A Ranger fired a Mk-19 grenade launcher from the east roadblock. The first grenade landed short. The second hit the truck bed, and sandbags burst apart. The gun team disappeared in the blast. Alpha and Bravo then turned inward together. Iranian forces were hit from 3 sides. The counterattack lasted 4 minutes. When it ended, 31 Iranian forces were dead in the open and 9 more were wounded beside the barracks wall. At 3:50, the U.S. Army held the center of the base, but the last launchers were still alive. Launchers 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 sat behind a row of repair sheds on the southeast side. Smoke from the first demolitions covered the approach. Charlie came out of the bunker with the launch keys and the site map. That changed everything. The map showed a cable trench feeding emergency ignition circuits to the last 5 revetments. If those circuits stayed live, 1 missile could still fire on local battery power. Charlie followed the trench. Bravo covered the sheds. Though an Iranian force with a PKM rose from the cable ditch and hit 2 Rangers. Charlie answered with Mk-18 fire at 12 meters. A breacher dropped into the ditch, found the junction box, and packed it with C4. At 3:52, the box blew, and the last ignition link died. At 3:54, Alpha and Delta closed on the final launcher row. Iranian forces were cornered now. They fired from behind tires, tool carts, and concrete blocks. The range was close. Most shots were under 25 meters. U.S. Army Rangers moved in pairs. 1 fired, 1 moved. A Mk-48 Mod 0 hammered the repair shed doors until they folded. Delta threw 2 grenades through the opening. 4 Iranian forces stumbled out. Rangers cut them down before they reached the fence. Near Launcher 11, a wounded Iranian officer tried to crank the stabilizer jacks by hand. Bravo shot him and placed thermite on the missile guidance housing. At 3:56, 10 launchers were disabled. The bunker was seized, and the east road was still blocked. At 3:58, reinforcements finally came. 6 trucks from a nearby guard battalion raced down the valley road with 54 more Iranian forces. They were 7 minutes too late. Delta had mined the first bend with C4 and det cord. The lead truck hit the blast and rolled on its side. The second truck swerved into the ditch. The rest stopped and unloaded under fire. A DSHK on 1 truck opened toward the base. Alpha answered with the captured East ZU-23-2 turned against the road. The burst shredded the truck engine and silenced the gun. Bravo then reached launchers 11 and 12. Rangers fixed two shaped charges on the launch rails and a thermite block on each fire control panel. At 4 o'clock, though every launcher on the base was either burning, blown open, or dead from internal heat. By 4:02, the primary objective was secure. Charlie copied the target folders, grabbed 12 launch keys, 3 sealed code books, and 2 hardened drives from the bunker safe. Alpha checked each revetment one last time and placed fresh C4 on any launcher that still held shape. Bravo blew the reload truck line, destroying 8 trucks loaded with spare missile parts and fuel pumps. Delta crushed the last resistance at the east wall when 11 Iranian forces tried to break out through the maintenance gate. The Rangers hit them with M4A1 SOP Mod 2 fire and 1 Carl Gustaf round into the gatehouse. The command bunker, radar mast, generator yard, both ZU-23-2 guns, and all 12 launchers were out of action. 32 minutes after the assault began, the missile base could no longer fire a single round. At 4:06, the U.S. Army Rangers started withdrawal. Demolition timers were set for 6 minutes. The wounded moved first on 4 litters. The dead were carried next. Alpha and Bravo pulled west through the breach. Charlie came out with the captured drives and code books in 2 hard cases. Delta stayed last and kept firing at the stalled reinforcements on the road. At 4:12, the final charges went off behind them. 12 launchers, 8 reload trucks, the radar mast, the generator yard, both anti-aircraft guns, and the bunker entrance blew apart in one chain of blasts. The raid cost the U.S. Army 3 killed and 9 wounded. Iranian forces lost 81 killed, 64 wounded, and 52 captured. The destroyed launchers were worth $96 million. The trucks, fuel systems, radar, generators, and cane and bunker equipment added $58 million more in losses. Iran believed the missile base had enough depth, steel, and guns to survive until launch time. What actually happened was 96 U.S. Army Rangers broke it apart in 38 minutes and walked out with its codes. Sometimes the strongest defense is not enough when U.S. Army Rangers decide it needs to be taken.